You're listening and watching to Inside iOS Dev. Today with you, your host, Alex Bush.
And Sandeep Aggarwal.
And today, guys, we are talking about unit testing 101, the basic introduction of what unit testing is. So let's say you have something like this sample code, right? You have a view model somewhere in your code base that you would like to unit test. You would like to know if it functions correctly, right? And specifically, one thing in this case, the method we want to unit test is the do work method, right? And what it should do, it should get some value from a service and assign it to this property, right? So first of all, sort of, how do you actually even start if you don't have any unit testing setup in your project? How would you start with that? The first thing you would do, you need to introduce a unit testing target to your project. It doesn't matter if you have just the Xcode project or a workspace, or if you're using CocoaPods or Carthage or anything like that. The sort of the process overall is similar. You would go to your project file and go to this list of targets over here. And then you click on this plus button to add a target, and you search for unit testing, and you select this unit testing bundle. And then you give it a name. This default is probably all right. And then select target to be tested. Your project might have multiple targets, such as watch kit target or iMessage or a bunch of others. So you select that and you add this target to your project. What it creates for you is this folder, which also I think you can set up manually if needed, but Xcode does it for you with this kind of a stub of a template of a unit test. Just double check, run it, clicking on this gears over here to either run the whole test class or each individual test, just to double check that this thing works. It will compile your project and then compile the unit testing target, and the sequence is always, the project targets and its dependencies will compile first, and then the unit testing target will compile last. Okay, so in order to add a new unit test case, you would go here, create a new file, select unit test case class, and then give it a name, right? The typical convention is you have the name of your thing that you're testing, and it ends with tests at the end, right? But it could be anything else. And then also here, you're selecting this class that you're subclassing this test case from, because you can either use the base one that Apple provides, or you can actually have your own subclass with some base setup. And then here, just make sure that this test case class is added to the unit testing target, not to your main target application target. So yeah, we got some form of a template, but we will get rid of this for now.
Alex, I think we should explain the viewers that how this main view model is working and what we need to test here. Okay, so see here we have a counter that's a private variable in this view model, and we need to test what its value is at the end of the operation it is doing. So see here in the initialization method, in it with service, we are injecting a service, and that service is basically responsible for providing a new value to the counter. And where that happens is inside the do work method. So basically this do work method assigns the value from service to the counter. Okay, and when we have to read that value, we can use another method called get counter to read the value. Okay, so the setup is very basic for us. So we just need to test whether that do work method is really setting the right value service.
Yeah, so exactly what you said, Sandeep. So then the way we start with that, right? First of all, we need to declare a one or multiple test methods in that test case for us to use to run. And they all start with the word test, right? So it could be test and then any name after that, but a typical convention is to test and then the name of the method you're testing. So this would be considered a unit test now, because this thing can be actually launched now and executed as a unit test. There's always three parts to it. Regardless of how you organize the code, overall, at the end of the day, there's always three parts. There's the given, the setup, essentially of like, given the state of the world, and in this case, the world is very small, right? The world in quotes, like this view model. And in our case, we want to create it, right? So we would say main view model. Oh yeah, and one thing we forgot to do here is to include our target module so that we have all of the classes available or all of the types available. But anyway, back to it. So in the given setup, we create the view model, and in this case, we give it the service, right? Because that's what it needs, injects at initialization. So this is our world's setup, right? The given for the test. Then we are testing like what happens, right? The kind of an event that happened, which is the when part. And the event that happens is the do work, right? We are calling the method that we would like to test. So sort of that's the when part. And the last part is then what, right? What happened after the event, or what's expected. So we have a set of methods that the exit test framework provides to assert on something being true, something being false, equal, not nil, nil, and so on, so on, so on. So in our case, we need the assert equal to compare the equality of two things. And in this case, we want to know that after this event happened, which is calling the method, the value of the counter, which we're getting using this get counter method, is what we expect it to be. And in this case, we know, okay, this is supposed to be 5, right? So yeah, and then we run it to see if it works. As you can see, the test passes. We have a green check mark. In more, not as simplified example as this, you would actually normally start with making sure that your test fails. That's how you sort of test the test. That's the usual kind of concern with people new to TDD. How do I know that if the code I'm writing in the tests is correct? Do I need to write more tests to test the unit tests? No, you really don't. What you do is kind of originally you run something that clearly supposed to fail, right? And then you modify your code to make sure that it succeeds, right? This is the basic structure of unit testing, how you would approach it. You have your test cases. You have unit tests in each one of them, the methods with the test prefix. You could have other methods here with like some other names, right? They don't have the prefix, and they will be fine and execute, and you can use them inside of the tests, but they are not be part of the testing suite. And then the structure of each unit test, regardless of how you organize it, people don't always do this commenting there. I do prefer it personally. You can just write it however you want, but at the end of the day, all the three parts will be present in one form or another. You will have the setup with the given part, what's the given state of the world. You'll have the event when something happens, you're executing something, and then the assertion, right? What is the expected outcome? Okay, guys, that was it for today. You can reach us at hello@insideiosdev.com or tweet at us at insideiosdev on Twitter, and reach out if you have any questions or comment under the video on YouTube. Please like and subscribe it. It helps a lot. And we will see you next time. Happy coding.